All right, let's start here. What is Bitcoin? And now I want you to forget everything you think you know or you've heard. All the good things you may have heard about, getting rich and the hype, all that kind of stuff. All the bad things about, I don't know, buying drugs or pirates or something to do with Justin Bieber. Like whatever you think you know, let's just put that right here for a second and let's just start from scratch. All right, let's come to this with the fresh eyes. Bitcoin is two things. As I said, it's a digital currency and it's a technology. Now in this video, this one video, I do want to talk about Bitcoin as a digital technology. What does that mean? Okay, and one thing to get straight, Bitcoin is not a coin. It's not a physical coin. And I only mention this because it might be a little bit confusing if you're looking at images around the web or in the newspaper. Oftentimes they use these kind of pictures. Yes, somebody may have made actual coins that were to represent Bitcoins a few times. There are a few cases, a few things, but they're more like art projects or novelties and one-offs. But this is not actually what we're talking about when we're talking about Bitcoin, the digital currency. So let's just kind of put that aside too. But what I am talking about when I talk about Bitcoin is a way that you can come to the internet, I mean, basically on a browser like this or on your phone, and send somebody money, send somebody digital currency, this Bitcoin, quickly with lower fees and without a middleman. And that's what's really exciting. Now, for you, and maybe let's imagine 10 years from now, for your kids, right? For 20 years from now, whenever you have kids, they may just use Bitcoin and not have any questions about how it works or should I use it. It may just be part of the fabric of life. Here's an example, quick example. What is the internet? For you, well, for most people, the internet is just the browser, right? The internet's the browser. It's where you go and you check your Facebooks and all that kind of stuff. Not that many people necessarily know all the things about how the internet works, right? And you just use it. There's a layer of what you just accept and use things. And I think that in 10 years or so, we will be at that point where you just come to a site like Coinbase here and you just have some Bitcoin and you're just sending it from your wallet. And we'll talk more about how that works and all that kind of stuff. But the idea is that at some point, it's just a coin that you send back and forth. And that's not too dissimilar to how you already spend money right now. You are already using a digital currency. Maybe you just didn't know it. The dollar is a digital currency. And let me explain what I mean by that. So for one, when I go to my bank, right? When I go to my bank online, I see my money. Now, the money that you have in the bank, you don't actually have money in the bank, right? I mean, unless you are taking your dollar bills, bringing them down to a safe deposit box and keeping them in a box. But if you bring your money to the bank, they just take it, count it, and then add numbers up for you, and you go and log in and you spend it. Here's what I mean. When I log into my bank, TD Bank here, I go online and I can see the amount of money that I'm spending and earning, right? The debit and the credit, and it updates. I go to the one central place, the bank, and they take care of that for me. So I see this. This is my, checking account. What is this? It's like a ledger. It's like a ledger over time of the money I'm spending, and the bank manages it. It's a pretty common idea. While there's about $60 trillion in money supply in the world, that's like all the money in the world, only $6 trillion of that is in actual cash or coins. Let me say that again. So there's $60 trillion, but only $6 trillion is physical cash or coins in the world. So the takeaway here is that 90% of currency is already a digital currency that we keep on a ledger like this at our bank. And that's pretty much the same exact idea as Bitcoin. Now, okay, well, what makes Bitcoin so different and innovative? Why do we care? Well, in a quick comparison, you can see here the banking ledger is, as I said, controlled by a bank, one central point, one central authority. And the problem, or some of the problems with that, is that, well, if there's one person controlling all the money and it's in one place, they have control and can charge fees, whatever they want. There's a lot of maintenance on that. Because all the money's in one place, hackers and people who want to commit fraud, counterfeit, all of that is possible because it's all in one place and it's a lot easier. They know exactly where to go. Banks are constantly under attack, cyber attack, all these kind of attacks of, bank robberies, modern day bank robberies. And all of that costs a lot of money to safeguard against. It costs you as consumer money, and it makes it less accessible by people around the world. All of this in the course I'm going to break down and we're going to go through, but these are the main comparisons. Because when we look at Bitcoin, BTC, Bitcoin is controlled by the network, and we're going to go into what that means specifically. But because of it being controlled by the network and not one bank in the middle, we can go one person to one person directly without a middleman, which means there's lower fees, and maybe surprisingly to you, actually it's going to be a lot safer. There's going to be higher security around that. And we'll go into how this works and what this means, but this is the major change that will change banking for you in the future. It will change how we buy things all around the world, because whatever layer you're sending money at the end of the day, you're just going to end up sending money. But underneath it, it's the technology, and that's what we're going to get to in the next video. It's this technology that allows these transactions to be cheaper and safer, and that is so exciting. So in this video, we talked about how Bitcoin is a digital currency and how it compares to the dollar. In the next video, we want to talk about how the technology works, which is really what we're going to talk about in the next series of videos, because that's where things get exciting. And I want to leave you with this quote, which I think is fascinating to think about. Saying Bitcoin is like digital money is like saying the internet is just a fancy telephone. So beyond just this digital currency, remember, this is just the first app. The first thing that we're doing with it is just comparing it to the dollar. There is going to be an exponential amount of possibilities that we can start to see that come from this change. And that's what we're going to go into in the next few videos. So come along with me.